Welcome to America's Commercial Real Estate Show, your source for insightful analysis and enlightening discussions. Hello, I'm Michael Bull, your host. Thanks for joining us on one of the 44 radio stations, iTunes, YouTube, or the show website, commercialrealestateshow.com. Well, today we have a hot topic for you, social media for business. We'll cover some key aspects of a successful social media campaign. We'll also get into some advanced strategies to utilize these powerful tools for your business. Please welcome our first guest. It's Sarah Malcolm. Sarah is Director Digital Media with ICSC, the International Council of Shopping Centers. Sarah, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate it, and it was good to see you guys at the Recon convention in Vegas. Boy, it was a big success, and people were very excited about retail and retail real estate, weren't they?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was one of the best years I've seen in a long time, and it was on fire.
Yeah.
The feedback we received was just deals, lots of meetings, and lots of excitement. So, love the energy.
Yeah, and as director of media there for ICSC, ICSC is a big worldwide organization. You're seeing what's great for retailers and retail real estate related to social media, but just how important is social media for these retailers and retail real estate owners in today's environment?
Well, I think you don't really have a choice anymore. So I think 5 years ago, people were like, should I be on it? The social media thing, what is it? It's just, again, not a choice. So it's obviously super important. However, it's not the entire puzzle. It's just a piece of the puzzle. So, I'm a new mom. I don't know if you remember, I was pregnant last year at Recon.
I remember.
Yeah, and he is 9 months, and early on, he's been reaching for my iPhone, trying to, touch my laptop and just get his hands on it. So they're just growing up with this technology in their hand. And I was FaceTiming him while I was at Recon, and he was 8 months, and he was looking into the phone and babbling. And he completely understood how that worked. And if you think about it, over 50% of the world's population is under 30. So this is how they communicate. So it's funny, in Eric Qualman's talk that he gave, he said that 53% of millennials would rather lose their sense of smell than their technology. So if that's any indication of how important it is, I think it says it all there.
Right. My son is 16 and my daughter's 18, so if I took their cell phones, they would be very depressed.
I know. I can't remember the name of what that is when you lose the fear of losing your cell phone, but it's a real thing.
It's worse than the scare of spiders, right?
I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of nice when I go off the grid for a little bit. But,
that's true. Well, let's talk about some of the social media platforms that you guys see are more powerful for retailers and retail real estate owners today.
So I think so there's not an easy answer for that. It really depends on where your audience is, what your demographics are. So if you've got a younger audience, I think Snapchat is definitely, and Instagram is something that you should be focused on. Twitter is obviously very powerful and super easy to interact and engage with your audience. Facebook obviously is still powerful. It's it's everyone says it's kind of going out the door, but their usage is still pretty high, and they've got how many people on there now? quite a bit. So again, but I go back to, it really depends on who your audience is. Are they bunch of Justin Bieber followers, or are they a little bit more sophisticated and business savvy, or so I think the key is understanding who your audience is before you make that decision.
Right.
Periscope also is a new one, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point.
Which one?
Periscope.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's talk about Periscope. I mean, that's a very interesting platform, right, where you can video yourself or others, and people can comment. How is Periscope working in retail?
Well, I think, it's just a few months old, so I think people are still figuring it out. We used it at Recon a lot, and it was a great way to kind of show behind the scenes of what happened at our event, as well as do live interviews on the show floor. So I think it's a great. It's it's definitely where the cool kids are at right now. So it's not widely used yet, but I think it has the potential to. But yesterday, Oprah was periscoping. Last night, Kevin Hart was from his house when he was filming. He's filming in Boston, and it's just a really cool way to kind of see kind of the perspective that you never get to see. So I think retailers have to figure out how that works within their environment and how their customers want to engage. So I think by seeing kind of celebrities do set the trend of how to use certain platforms. And I think brands have to be like, okay, well, how does that translate to my product and what we do, and how would they be interested to kind of see that? So I think there's more to come on Periscope.
Yeah, Periscope's real interesting. It seems like you can get involved in it and waste a lot of time, but I guess if you're a brand, it can be very powerful for your spokesman or your folks to interact with the public. I was watching Jim Gaffigan, the comedian who was periscoping, and it was real interesting to hear him interact with fans, and you're able to ask him questions and really feel a part of his fan club there. And also saw a book writer who was writing a book, and he was getting ideas from people on Periscope of some ideas for his book. So and he's also picking up fans along the way, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. We were filming in New Jersey at a mall, and we were filming robots and how they kind of assist with the shopping. We were periscoping, and we were just like, let's just periscope and see, how many viewers we get. We got almost 800 viewers on that, and we didn't tell anybody. It was just kind of a live thing. We decided just to hit record and just go with it. So. The potential is huge, just to be able to, like you said, to be able to just interact with your audience. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Well, tell us about Beacon Technology and how Beacon Technology is impacting kind of social media and the retail experience. So Facebook just announced, well, not just announced, but recently, that they are actually going to provide retailers with iBeacons. And they believe that that with the use of iBeacons, that it will help influence, I believe it was $4.1 billion and in 2015, and in 2016, 10 times that. So I think Beacon itself is super new, and it's just coming out of its kind of beta mode, and which we actually use Beacon at Recon as well. And I was shocked about the engagement that we got. Out of those who had downloaded the most recent version of the ICSC app and had their Bluetooth on, we had a 45% engagement. That's insane compared to any other, like emails, Facebook, ads, anything like that. And I was just floored. I was so excited. Right. So I think the key to being successful with Beacon is having an app that's available that people actually want to download, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure their Bluetooth's turned on, so it's educating the audience. Mm-hmm. So to get a person to do all of that, it has to be worth it. Mm-hmm. So you can't say, it can't just be a sales tool. It really has to be some sort of benefit to the consumer.
And Sarah, for the listener who may not be familiar with beacons and how they're used in retail, tell us the basics of how the system works.
Okay, so basically it's a low-cost device that allows a message to communicate with smartphone apps indoors. And so if, for example, if you're, you put a beacon on a shoe table, right? Mm-hmm. And you happen to be you have the app and you have your Bluetooth turned on, you happen to be walking by that shoe table, it can shoot you a message saying, hey, Kim Kardashian wore these last week, or these shoes are made in Italy. Any type of information that would be interesting to their audience. So the potential is huge because it turns physical merchandise into a way where it can now talk to you.
Right. Yeah, that's
pretty
amazing.
Cool.
And like you talked about, the consumers are a younger group than most people think, and that's the way they're, like you said earlier, that's the way they're used to interacting. And that will be interesting when you go by an area of a store and they tell you, hey, we have your favorite we have your favorite clothes, or we have your favorite brand. We've got some new things that just hit the shelf, right?
And also, I think Beacon also can assist with the associates, because if you think of retail, the associates that make, $10 an hour, turnover is pretty high, right? So if you've, got the technology in hand, and as they're walking by the merchandise and you're feeding them information per Beacon, that gives the associate the information they need to be like a power salesperson.
Right, that's a good point. Well, stay tuned. We're going to have some more on social media strategies, including some tips and mistakes to avoid. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. We'll be right back. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you in part by RealNex, providing a comprehensive suite of powerful commercial real estate tools at an incredibly low cost. Visit realnex.com. That's REALNEX. Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. Hey, we have some great shows coming up for you. Be sure not to miss shows of special interest to you. Sign up for a once-a-week email announcing the show topic at creshow.com. Our topic today is social media for your business. We're talking with Sarah Malcolm, Director of Digital Media with ICSC. And Sarah, some business leaders are a little concerned about the risk of their folks and their employees using social media. Once it's set out there on Twitter or whatever, it's there, right? What are some strategies that you see some companies utilizing to mitigate this risk?
Well, I think the one thing you want to make sure is that you're not so scared where you're not having your employees talk about your brand. So I think that's number one, is you
get over it, huh? Get over it.
Get over it. And people are going to make mistakes, and I think that's where training comes in. And having a strong social leader within your environment that can help guide employees what to do and what not to do. And I think also some companies will have their employees put a little blurb, if they're going to talk about work or talk about what they do, saying that their thoughts and opinions are not the company's opinions. So that's another thing you can do as well. So that way the company is totally in the clear. However, I don't think, I think everyone do have to be mindful on what they are talking about on social. I kind of use this example all the time, is if you're at a party and you're socializing and you're meeting new people, and people who don't know you are, approaching you, and you're going to stay away from politics and religion, right?
Right.
Definitely not going to, start talking about your opinions there. And then, also when you're at the party, if there's someone that's too drunk, that's annoying, right? And they're just too in your face. If there's someone who won't stop talking about themselves,
right,
that also gets annoying, and you're like, geez, where's the nearest exit? So I think if you use those strategies on social, you can't lose.
Yeah, those are great tips.
Yeah. A couple of retailers, Kenneth, I don't know if you remember Kenneth Cole, they tweeted out during the riots in Egypt and implied that the reason why the riots were happening because they were so excited about a new line that was coming out for Kenneth Cole, and that obviously didn't do so well. So I think anytime you're tying your brand to a disaster or a tragedy or something negative that's going on in the world, that's obviously a no-no. And the Gap also during Sandy, they tweeted basically to stay safe after the storm, which was really nice. However, they said in the same sentence, but you can still shop on Gap.com. So I think it's important. It's okay for employees as well as brands to talk about tragedies and say, hope everyone's safe, but just leave it at that. Don't tie it back to your brand or, be the hero in that situation.
Right. You have to be careful, what you say there. So there's some mistakes to make. And sometimes, like you mentioned, if you're blabbing about yourself or your brand all the time, people are going to turn you off, right? You got to provide some information that's interesting to people, right?
100%. Yeah, 100%. So there's a quote, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get this right, but it's climb the mountain so you can see the world, not so the world can see you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important in social media, to not worry about always trying to, be the cool kids or jump on, if everyone's talking about Hurricane Sandy, your brand doesn't necessarily have to get on that, in that conversation. It might not be appropriate. So I think sometimes you just want to sit back, climb that mountain and kind of look and see, what is everybody saying about you? What's going on? Don't worry about just jumping in right away to try to grab that engagement, because it may not work out.
Right. And one of my favorite social media platforms is Twitter. What are some tips, Sarah, that you would provide for a company, for businesses, related to utilizing Twitter and getting some power out of that?
I think the big thing is, it's funny. I spoke with a startup not too long ago, and they said, Sarah, we want to get 1 million followers in a month. And I said, that's not going to happen. I mean, not real followers,
right.
Which is obviously what you want. And they're like, nope, we want it. We want 1 million followers. And I said, that's just not going to happen. I mean, the only way you're going to get 1 million followers in 4 hours is if you're Caitlyn Jenner, right? And, and it's funny, I actually Googled just for the fun of it, how to get 1 million followers. And it gave me a bunch of answers that were just crazy. It was unrealistic. So then I Googled how to get $1 million. And the first response was, stop obsessing about money. And so that's the advice I give: stop obsessing about followers.
Right, because it's not the number of followers, right? It's the quality of the followers, and are they really watching what you're doing?
Correct,
right?
correct. Right. And that's why I think it's interesting to understand who your audience is. I think that's huge on Twitter. That's really, really important. I can't say that enough, because I feel like people really do miss that. And there was a company that was their audience was not like cool and hip, and they were tweeting about Biggie Smalls, and I was just like, that just does not make any sense with your audience. So again, know your audience. I think partnering with influencers is huge. We did that at Recon, and it really, really paid off. So if you're trying to get that reach, trying to get your brand out there, trying to get people to know who you are, partnering with influencers is key. I think turning your audience into your marketing team. So any way that you can get them to get on board and tweet about you and what you guys are doing, or share, or whatever it is, I think that's huge, huge, huge win on Twitter, is when you've got all your followers basically being your marketing team.
Yeah, and that's great. And once you know your audience, you know what to share with them, and what's going to be interesting to them. Well, let's talk about measuring the success of a social media platform, because it sometimes doesn't, there's not a direct correlation to sales. So what are some tips there?
Well, I think first, before you get onto technology or onto a platform, is understanding where your audience is, right? Mm-hmm. So once you know that, I think having a clear goal and objective is important. So what are you trying to accomplish on there? So are you trying to redirect all these people to your website? Are you trying to just engage with people and have just a genuine conversation and build your brand relationship that way? What is your goal? Is your goal to get 1 million followers?
$1 million?
So I think it just depends what your goals are, and then achieving those.
Right, because it might not just be a direct correlation to sales, right? You might want to look at what kind of traffic you're getting on your blog, or maybe what kind of click-throughs you're getting to your site, right? Exactly.
Well, exactly, and studies have shown that people they trust people, right? So if someone's saying, oh, I just bought this dress online, I love it, or check out this, whatever it is, they're more than likely to click on that and possibly purchase it than if a brand's like, hey, check out this dress, it's awesome. So they trust their peers, and that's why social is perfect for this type of sales and marketing.
Right. If people are talking about it in social media, they're advertising it for you. Your own customers are out there sharing the good word, right?
Which is exactly what you want.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Well, Sarah, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here, and you do such a great job.
Well, thank you. We'll see you at the next ICSC event. I'm Michael Bull. This is the Commercial Real Estate Show. Stay with us. We'll have more social media strategies for your business. We'll be right back. The Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you by Bull Realty Commercial Advisors, a great place to do business. Visit bullrealty.com. RealNex, a comprehensive and powerful suite of commercial real estate tools at an incredibly low price. Visit realnex.com. That's RealNex. Xceligent, the resource professionals use for commercial real estate information. Visit xceligent.com. That's XCELIGENT. Commercial Search, the source to market and source available properties for sale or lease. Visit commercialsearch.com. For more information on these great companies or for additional videos, podcasts, or articles, visit CREshow.com.